Okay, so in another video I talked about core wounds and core needs, and how at the center of every identity there is this core need. And I wanted to talk about it a bit further because I watched that video again recently and I thought, I don't think I said everything that I needed to say. And the other things that I needed to say about it is there seems to be certain core needs, and there's probably more than what I'm going to express here now, but they seem to be things like connection, significance, power. And for the people who might need more connection, maybe they have a need for belonging or a need to be seen. And the people who have a need for power, maybe they experience a lot of powerlessness in their childhood. And so that's created a need for power now in them. And for the people who have a need for significance, maybe for them they need validation, or they need status. So you can see that there's these needs right at the core of our identity. And what I've realized recently is that there's also a wound. So it's kind of like that is a wound. Well, it's a kind of need, it's a core need, but then there's a wound underneath that. So you could say it's a wound underneath a wound, if that makes sense. The wound underneath the wound. And for someone who maybe didn't feel seen, maybe they feel like they didn't really matter, and that's the wound. And for someone who maybe didn't belong, maybe they felt like they were never wanted. And for people who needed validation, maybe they needed more attention. And this wound really is, I suppose, the controller of the identity, especially if it isn't being seen, and even sometimes we can know that this is within our personality or it's like a core wound, but that's all we do with it. It's just a kind of knowledge. It's not felt into. And so if it isn't felt into, you're kind of controlled by this need and this wound that is underneath. And this is the core lack at the very inner center of the identity. And that core lack is the thing that is making all of us want to get things on the outside in order to feel like we are filling that wound, So, that can look different ways for different people. For some people it's going to be money, for some people it's going to be status, for some people it's going to be love, for some people it's going to be, being super successful or being able to have a great relationship or having a child because you feel like maybe you'll get your connection that way. Or so we're being driven and by this core lack at the very center of the identity. And that wound really needs to be felt into. And really, when you get to the point where you're feeling into that core wound, it kind of, I suppose, reminds me a little bit of a Leonard Cohen song, where he said, "There is a crack in everything, and that is how the light gets in." And really, it feels to me like that wound is how the light gets in, it's kind of like, I don't want to say it's like the beginning of the awakening, of the non-dual awakening, because technically, I don't know, I think you could feel this wound and still not awaken to your true nature. But I do feel like, as Leonard Cohen says, it is the crack that is where the light comes through.